Hey, artsy friends, welcome to my third composition notebook art journal series. This is a glow art journal. As you can see, this is the page I'm working on today. I'm really excited. It's one of my favorites. If you're new here, I take cheap composition notebooks and turn them into beautiful art journals. So this is, I believe, page 25 in this art journal. I don't go in consecutive order necessarily. I mean, I generally do, but sometimes I skip around just depending on what I feel like. So first, I'm starting with pulling out all of my glow paints. And as you can see, the page is already prepared with some collage. I collaged most pages in this entire art journal before I began, and I'll have a link down below to that video, which will show you each page that I collaged in here. And I kind of used it also to share. I have like 61 ideas that you can use for collage fodder. If you're a junk journaler, you can just, there's lots of ideas there. So go check out that video if you haven't already. And I am just smushing paint, smushing, smushing. You know what I mean. So I just use a cosmetic sponge to smear paint all over my page. I rarely use a brush anymore because the sponge works really well to kind of press it down into the wrinkles. Or lightly go over and kind of catch the top ridges of the wrinkles. I can kind of do both effects with the sponge really easily. I should clarify too that this paint doesn't glow in the dark, but it glows under the black light. And I just happened to get a handheld like flashlight blacklight right at about the time that I started this art journal. So it's been fun because I can just flip it on and check out my page as I go, and then I can show you when I'm done what it looks like. And then I'll do a big flip through when we're all done. So I'm starting with some scribbles. Some just big, thick, black scribbles. So, you know, making black marks over bright colors always looks beautiful because you get lots of contrast. And white kind of has the same effect. I like using black and white to make things kind of pop off the color. So I'm loving it already. So I love this turquoise aqua color on, especially like over the pinks and the yellows, and it really looks good over all the blacklight paint colors. So this is a little bit of new mark making, experimenting here. Sometimes we can kind of find our comfort shapes and comfort marks and designs, and so I like to every now and then make sure that I'm like trying out new marks, new shapes. Because a lot of what I do is just doodling, and it's just fun to see how I can expand my mark making ideas. I usually am more happy with pages that have some kind of quote or sentiment on them. And so I decided to get out the white paint and kind of create a space for some text and a quote. And then I wanted to kind of balance it out the page a little bit by putting a little bit of white somewhere else. So don't be afraid to cover things up. I know that goes against our natural instinct, but it's actually freeing to give yourself permission to do it. So I'm using a piece of parchment paper to write out my quote to get the spacing just right. I go back and forth between intentionally kind of framing my quote so that it doesn't look weird and wonky. Sometimes I just go for it and start writing a quote, and then if I run out of space on a line, I just continue the word wherever I left off on the next line. So there's just different ways you can do it. I mean, sometimes I do that without planning, and then I don't really love how it looked afterwards. So it's probably better for me if I kind of plan it a little bit. And when you use the parchment paper, you don't have to make it perfectly the same as your little quick sketch. It just helps you see how many words, how many letters fit on a line, and how do you want to move it more to the center, to the right, but it gives you a frame of reference to start with. So I love how this grid pattern of marks creates this place to put all these dots, because I love dots. Who doesn't love dots? We all love dots. How many times can I say dots? So I have these bottles. They are marketed as glue bottles, but I use them for my Blacklight paint because I wanted to have something with a tip that I could kind of write with more. But I also find that if I just take the little needle off, that just dabbing the bottle itself makes for nice little dots. So I just realized I haven't said anything about my quote. It's easy to be miserable. Being happy is tougher and much cooler. So I have found by life experience or through life experience that misery is usually a choice. We don't have control over our circumstances, but we can control how we respond to them. And happiness can be a choice that's really hard to choose sometimes. Sometimes we want to wallow in our grumpiness and, somebody did us wrong and we're going to be miserable about it and bent out of shape. But I don't know. I'm 48. I think life experience gets you to that point where most things aren't worth getting stressed out about, And as a believer in Yeshua, Jesus, I feel like, he is the savior of my soul. And so the only thing that the devil can do to me is make me miserable and ineffective. So I don't want to give him the satisfaction. So I'm going to live a happy life as much as I can control. So it's fun reflecting on the page while I'm in editing mode, because actually several days have passed since I've done this page. So sometimes you see things you definitely didn't see while you were making it. Like all those circles remind me of two things. First, SpaghettiOs. Okay, where are my children of the 80s? Remember SpaghettiOs? I'm sure they still make SpaghettiOs, but I would not ever eat or feed my children SpaghettiOs today, because I'm sure they have changed the recipe and now it's full of all kinds of horrible chemicals that will give us cancer. But when I was a kid, I loved SpaghettiOs. And the other thing that it kind of reminds me of from my childhood was there was this little game that had water in it, and it had these little rings, and then you like pushed a button that would like push the rings up, and you tried to like hook them on these little hooks. You know what I'm talking about? I know some of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's fun to see pictures in your doodles that you didn't really even intend to make out of them. Something I realized I haven't mentioned in a long time that I used to kind of bring up is that you are always welcome to borrow any of my ideas. You know, a lot of times I'll borrow ideas from other artists, and it might even just be a mark or something. And then sometimes I'm kind of in my own little creative zone and come up with my own ideas. And either way, I am not protective over my work. Now, if you make a kind of like a copycat page where you're trying to make your own version of this page and you post it on social media, like just give me a shout out kind of credit, but absolutely have fun. You're not cheating. You're not, stealing. It's totally fine. I did not invent the circle. And I think imitation's the highest form of flattery. So I would be honored if you decide that something I make, in fact, that's the whole reason I have a YouTube channel, is just to encourage you and inspire you to go make some art of your own, right? Because this is fun. This is stress relieving, relaxing, and just fun. Okay, so I'm doing the final touch up, and I just don't like that orange that I tried to cover up, so I'm just going to add just a little bit of the same little squiggles and the same little blue lines and the same little white dots to kind of close that little section in. So there it is. There's my page. I hope that you are so inspired, that you enjoyed watching my video, that you'll come back and hang out with me again. Be sure to subscribe and like and do all that stuff that tells YouTube to keep promoting my channel. And I'll see you next time. Have a blessed day.